Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I am in the Xtreme Studios with the young 20-something Professor Pixel, who's joining me tonight to cover Season 4, Episode 6, the final episode of Columbo, A Deadly State of Mind. You may ask yourself, why am I in a private room with a young man? And, well, you know what? Whatever kind of thoughts come to your head, they're not nearly as diabolical as what we're going to be talking about in this episode, because Pixel, I've got issues with this episode because I think it's very good and it's done very well. My issue with it is the reveal, which we'll talk about. It's the main female character in here, as long as she's in the episode. And so I'm a little, not frustrated in a bad way, but I've watched this 3 times now in the past week, and I can't make up my mind if I love it or hate it or just recognize it's good, but it's not going to be nearly high on my favorite list for certain reasons too. I'm curious with George Hamilton's performance and just everything else that happened in here. What's your initial take on it?
2.5 times for me. I watched it 2.5 times. One time I was just, I had to get some sleep. I wanted to rewatch it before we reviewed it. But we had to cancel last week, so that actually helped. And then I rewatched it today for the full second time. I am in a similar boat because there is so much to enjoy with this episode. But there's also things that come in at the end that make you pause and be like, how many times can Columbo get away with this? But let's go ahead and start talking in a dark room. A dark room with not a young man, no, rather a young woman. Youngish, yeah. And
I'd say
she's
30.
yeah. And we see she's in a state of some delirium. She's calling out to her daddy, and this man in the background is asking her questions. And she's slowly revealing how she was jealous of a girl named Margaret and all this, until they hit a roadblock, and the guy goes ahead, undoes the IV that he has dripping into her, the drugs that he's pumping in, so that way he pulls her out of her hypnotic state. And yeah, he says there apparently he's working on a book with her as his main subject, and they're lovers because he goes ahead and kisses her, and I need you, you know how I need you. All right, I'll meet you at the beach house. And all seems fine and dandy. I mean, the Institute is aware that drugs are missing, but they don't really. He's like, well, what do you recount them again? I'm sure you're not going to find anything wrong. And it doesn't seem like they really care. But trouble brews when he finally goes to the beach house, where the subject is there, but does not welcome him with a loving embrace, but says no. And they walk inside, and who is there but the husband?
Yeah. So we can't say Nadia as the lady because it's pronounced Nadja.
Nadja.
Which, whatever. She walks around braless. And here's the thing. The character's interesting in the sense that, okay, we have a woman that's going through psychotherapy. As we've talked about before with the previous seasons of Columbo, as an 80s teenager and you a aughts teenager kind of guy, the whole self-improvement thing really started going critical mass late 60s, early 70s with fitness and all sorts of things. Actually, in one of the first episodes, I think it was the season, has got my boy in there. It was Milo Janis, right? I mean, that's a great episode, right? The fitness thing. This is like fitness of the mind. And what was interesting to me is when I think of George Hamilton, I think of a guy that I grew up seeing kind of being like he's a mark for himself, where he's like laughing and goofing and he's kind of cutesy. And that's how he was portrayed in the 80s. I thought his performance here was well done. And I think the idea of what they're doing here of somebody going through psychotherapy with the use of drugs to allow them to be put in a suggestive state is important, because that was somewhat cutting edge at the time. We're past electroshock therapy and lobotomies for the most part. And we're getting into like biocentric therapy and other types of things are becoming mainstream with people that want to achieve. And women coming to the workplace is definitely something Columbo's dealt with strong, independent women. My problem with here that I liked was that this guy's a creepy SOB fucking the woman. He's going to be making money off her by writing a book with all that too. And he's absolutely anything but ethical. My problem is he does a great job at it, but the entire time I don't feel any sense of danger from him, and I thought he acted well. It just wasn't compelling, and I cannot honestly answer and tell you why. He's just great, he carries himself well, he acts fine. I think I'm annoyed by her because she's got the girly voice because it's about her swimming, and I think it's her dad looking at her. So obviously she's got daddy issues, but this whole thing is this sexual thing of coming to her sexual awareness, right? She's menstruation, basically. When you're a girl and you become a woman, let's say, or whatever, and the attention that you get on there from somebody that's sexually powerful. And what does this translate to when they go to the beach house? And by the way, I thought this episode looked great because the scene of him driving around that curved, wet street, pulling into the beach house where he goes to meet her when she opens the door. And what is she there with? She's with an older male. Most times back in the day, the older male, younger woman relationship dynamic, which has always existed, not necessarily saying it's commonplace because it's not, but to put that on television was pretty cutting edge. So this is very progressive, I think, for its time, almost 2 generations ago. But here's the thing about it. The husband invites in and he's like, and they set up what I thought was actually an incredible scene here. It's where he says, "Oh, I see you brought another lover back into the house." And he's like, I think I know who she is and all that. And so we get George Hamilton playing Dr. Collier saying stuff like along the lines of, "Well, you got to understand, I've been with her 6, 7 months, so I obviously know everything about her and you." And he's not threatened by him. It's more of just a touche kind of thing or whatever. And I like the fact that he's not being a bitch here. I really think Hamilton's playing this well. And he's like, "Go ahead and get your coat." And the husband who's standing there, and he's an older guy, he's like, Carl, he's like, if you leave, just know that I'll let everybody know you're writing a book with using drugs, against her permission about her. And the guy's completely right. So it's funny because this is an older guy. I was not expecting him to take Hamilton and give him the old 5-knuckle sandwich there, buddy. This is good. It was a nice little punch down to there. And then here's the thing. Nadja decides to kind of interfere a little bit, and he kind of pushes her aside and goes up, and he gives her the old kablammy upside the head with the 5-knuckle sandwich again. I'm like, for all the wrong reasons, Pixel, I'm in love with this guy who's been wronged and jilted because he's doing the stoic thing out of the 3 of them. He's kicking ass and taking names, and I like that's the guy I want to see. But it does establish, Dr. Collier as being a bit of a bastard because then he drops the whammy on him and kills him, and that's our setup for it too. And he takes her and basically leaves. It's kind of unsettling in a way, and I like it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. You said how you don't feel really threatened by Hamilton at all. Like he doesn't have that. He has a good presence, but he doesn't have a good like, oh man, this guy's dangerous. Not at all. Even here, because he takes the fire poker, takes the blunt end, and hits him on the back of the head, and accidentally kills him. He didn't mean to kill him. He just wanted to knock him out, knock him away. Right. And he starts like, let me think, and he's trying to use his lighter, and it's not flicking on, and so he just sets it aside.
Now you're not a smoker, so and again, a lot of people don't use like a Zippo anymore. I mean, some people just do. Smoking is not as big as it used to be, and all that. Was that lost on you that was going to be important later?
Oh, I didn't realize that's what the metal piece that comes into play later was until Columbo explained it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because I don't use a lighter. Don't even use matches all that often. So yeah, no, as he's like panicking there, he's like, okay, wait, I figured it out. And so we get this very interesting scene with Columbo because we cut to night. I mean, there is a scene with him going back to the institute and kissing the one woman that he was kind of telling to F off. Don't
guy's a
don't ask me
player.
about the drugs.
This guy's a player.
Yes, and she ain't pushing away. But that's to give him a ride later. Because, yeah, the police are called to the scene, and Columbo is asking questions. And you have this doctor, another doctor, the just side character that comes in, and he's like, "Detective, please. This is enough questioning. She's been through enough." And honestly, this is her best performance. I don't know if maybe it's because it's right after the crime, but she is completely mellowed out.
I think he
She's mellowed
drugged her.
down.
I mean, they didn't show it, but I think she's just, you know what I'm saying? It was a
Maybe,
good performance.
do you mean the doctor or do you mean Collier?
The other one, yeah.
Yeah, the other one gave probably take a sedative, probably something like that. But it helped give a performance that could have convinced Columbo if they had tweaked the story just slightly. Because after Columbo finally relents, he's like, okay, all right. And he goes into the main sitting area. He sits down and you see him imagining the scene happening in front of him. Possible. Until more of the boys in blue show up and the headlights come through the window. And he's like, wait a minute. No, that's not possible. My first viewing, I had trouble because I thought that she had called with it still possible that they would have been there during the time of day in which they would not have the headlights. So I didn't know why he was so hooked on that. But then I realized it was like 2 hours later, 7 o'clock. It's definitely going to be darker. But yeah, that sets him up. He goes outside. He's able to take. Apparently, his car's French, and so he knows about these narrow tires. And he's just gathering bits of information that he can with, I don't think, any real lead yet at all. He just knows some things aren't fitting.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those episodes where if you don't catch something earlier, even though they go through explaining to you as a viewer what you should catch, because sometimes these things are thin, right? That, you know, if you go watch it again, you're like, oh yeah, it was right there. But I mean, that's in hindsight, right? Like for example, when he had her call and he left and all that, he almost runs into that blind man walking the dog, right? And so it's kind of like, oh, maybe it's going to be like a car thing, because it's been a while since we've had car stuff or whatever, and it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. There's a part of it there. There'll be other things as well, and we're still kind of not done. That's the interesting thing about this episode. But I just think that this is one of those ones where we haven't had the accidental murder, which is kind of cool in a way, right? It's done a little differently. It's a lot more intimate because it's in somebody's house, but it's also physical. It's not just a gun or some rando thing or whatever. I just go, wait a minute. We got a doctor who's banging a couple ladies, completely unethical, and he's leaving her to make the phone call. That's why he's fooling around with the other one to set up an alibi. And I just thought, wow, up to now, I've for the most part have praised all the Columbo women and the way they've been portrayed. Realistically, a lot of them very strong and independent, and especially in one of the more recent episodes too, with the lady in the wheelchair, phenomenal performance. It's the performance. The performance isn't bad, but it's not, I don't know, making me feel it or whatever, because I'm like, yeah, what's Columbo going to get into or whatever? Because at first, I'll tell you honestly, and I'm not a smoker, but I've been around it my whole life. I kind of didn't really pay too much attention about that. And when he picked up the little piece of flint that would be in the lighter that creates the spark that gets lit, I went, oh, because I always told you that this smoking was everywhere. That's not just television. It was like that in real life. So when he ends up lighting it with matches, I was like, oh, it has to do with that or whatever. But I don't know that it felt like it was very obvious. So I think that it's very easy to miss, just like the blind person walking the dog. Okay, it happened. I didn't think it was relevant because it was, it's a house that sits there on the ocean or whatever, right? So the shot is pulled way back and it's just a phenomenal view. It's fantastic looking shot, but it just didn't seem that important necessarily right now. So I was like you. I was like, okay, where are we going to go from here? So, like I say, it's dark, but it just didn't seem like it had like a lot of inertia. There was a dent, I think, in the gate, right? So that was the thing that they were looking at, and because Columbo's got his own cars European, he knows that they're a bit narrower than American cars. Which, okay, you got to tell the average viewer that because we're not going to know that too. But I also wonder too, with some of the people showing up, if he was going to have lots of conversations, like with the backup crew that are taking photos and stuff. We've seen that a little bit this season, but I don't know. It was interesting when he meets the doctor because, like I said, the doctor and him are talking, and he lights a cigarette with a match, and I didn't put much into it at that point. So
I don't think Columbo did either, though. He was just asking for a match. He didn't realize that the doctor had a lighter. He asked for a
yes,
match that day, and then the next day he notices the lighter, and so he asks to use it. I don't think Columbo has an idea yet.
yeah,
I really think that it's once he gets to the institute and he sees the car and these little things that are starting to click in his mind that maybe he's involved. Um, but
well,
it,
since the doctor's put Nadja up to it or like that, he has to console her the next day. So we
yeah,
find ourselves in her apartment, sir. Why don't you take it from there a little bit?
yeah, in the apartment, Columbo has some follow up questions, and of course he's asking. You said that that your husband picked up the poker to attack the man. Why didn't the man just use the gun? And Nausea is just panicking. Like she's like,
It's a
oh, I
horrible
didn't.
story,
Oh,
though, isn't it? Two men came in. We don't know what they want. I'm like, this is really bad. It really was
ah.
not good at all.
I mean, it's a rich beach house. I mean, I can believe a robbery attempt, but I don't think they took enough. One thing, I don't think they took enough to actually make a difference. They should have caused a little bit of a mess, or he should have.
Mhm.
Um, and going ahead and making it two men, I just, I don't know why wouldn't the other one just come in to come help with the gun? But
What do you
no, the
think about
poker.
Nadja being braless the entire time?
She's
Seriously.
she's very attractive. Uh, I think that helps. You know, it's fine.
Okay. We've
I don't
seen that
think.
before in other ones, but it's usually like a side hottie, not necessarily always the main. But that was a big thing of feminism back in the day, is not wearing a bra because the patriarchies, would make you conform to business suits and stuff and all that. Seriously. So it's kind of interesting there too. But she's definitely not one. She's definitely not shy of her assets, especially around her illicit lover, who
Yeah,
dresses very good, by the way. I all props to him. He carries himself very well, I think, in this episode. He's a confident individual, and that's good stuff.
I mean, yeah. At this point, he does have control. I think what it is that he is, with him being like a womanizer and everything. He is feels he's in control in that situation. He didn't feel in control of the situation with the husband, which is why he like took that and like,
Hmm.
it felt very cowardly lion. Like he didn't try to grab the guy and like hit him. No, he went for the closest thing that he could to go ahead and get a hit so they could run away. But now that he's accidentally dead, I figured out the cover up. I just need this woman to stop messing up my story.
Right. One of the reasons why I picked this slide here that you've got
Oh,
portrayed is the fact that, like I've talked about before, there's ways to dress and that sort of stuff. And Coco was very popular, earth tones in the 60s going into the 70s. But here, the thing I want to point out that's of importance is not that he's got the matching frames with the tie and all that. But if you look, he's got not a spread collar or a French collar. This is more of a classical one there. The length of your neck, the way it appears on your frame, you either go for spread collar if you have a long, skinny neck like I do, or if you have a short, fat neck, you go for a longer one to make it look longer. It's a way to kind of even your proportions out based off your way that your body's built. So here, I thought it was a very smart choice here with the pointed collars down there. But if you notice the way none of the collar is bent, wrinkled, or there's no lines in it, but also at the very top, right underneath his chin there, it's not too tight, and he's got the entire knot there that you could see going across. It bugs me to no death when people pay thousands of dollars for suits on television today and movies and your weather forecasters and all those kind of people, and you can see part of their collar. But he does have a push-up pin underneath that going across there. That's to stick the knot up, and it's definitely not a full Windsor there because it just has the one dimple. It's not. He doesn't even have a dimple in it. Honestly, he just has the one little part there. Typically, depending on what type of knot you're doing, you would have, like, say, two small ones on either side and then one long one there in the middle. This is more of a casual kind of, not business type attire, and it's just kind of smart because people would tie based off of, what kind of knot they're presenting and all that kind of stuff and all that. But I just thought Hamilton was always known as a really super tan guy, like later in the 80s, but kind of a bit of a goof. But here, I just thought, I don't know what his pedigree was up to this point, but I just thought he is as very good as Jack Cassidy, the others when it comes to the dressing department here. But it's just a 70s style that's not flashy, and 70s style that's not flashy is very disgusting to me. End of rant.
The most insulting thing about this scene, though, is where Columbo asks a question like, were they wearing gloves? Do you remember? And why would you panic over that? So she's incompetent. So yeah, she goes ahead, she looks over, and you see Collier like with a handkerchief in his hand, and he's like waving it around. But Columbo's not supposed to notice that. And I know he's blind in one eye, but he's not blind in that eye.
Columbo is not. Peter Falk is.
You don't think Columbo has the one eye? You think Columbo has both eyes?
It's never mentioned up to this point, is it? If it is, I don't recall it ever. No, Peter Falk. That's why he has the word. Peter Falk, I think it's his right eye is the glass eye.
Yeah, because it's the one that doesn't move. But
to my knowledge, it hasn't been established that the Columbo character has one good eye and one bad eye. I may be wrong. I'm sure the Columbo files will correct me.
I'm projecting. That's my bad. But yeah, even then, the eye that we know definitely works is in range whenever he's doing that. It's silly. It's really silly. And after that, he's like, wait, but she doesn't really listen. She's like, I'm so afraid. What are we going to do? And after that, we have Columbo going to the Institute. That's where he sees the tire, and he's getting around. Hamilton walks his publisher out as Columbo's getting lost. Excuse me, where can I find Collier? And follow the blue line.
That was a real thing, bro, and that's still. I mean, they don't necessarily.
I've
been in build. No, that was life in a big building. The logistics of where you go. We saw that in a recent episode. Remember how we had to go to the information department to find out whether or not somebody worked there, and they went to the computer and all that stuff. This is computers, edge, and processing power becoming mainstream in the office with all this stuff was a huge deal in the 70s. This is peak manufacturing time for the United States. I've been in a building like that.
But to tell him to follow the blue line, he takes an immediate turn, goes down, the blue line continues, but it also turns into the next room. Right. That doesn't give him a clear answer.
The silliness and ridiculous of that is supposed to, I think, be funny. It's not, but this is one of their ha-ha moments, right?
Yeah,
we'll talk about how stupid work is.
Supposed to be. Because he turns around, asks somebody else, yeah, it's just down this way. Is there a special color? And the girl's gone. That's my rant. But eventually, Collier comes in, and Columbo says, "Oh yeah, I was looking out at your tires. Mine are a little bald. I hate to admit. So I was looking at the tread." And that's where this line comes in. The way you get to the point without ever really getting to the point, you're a deceptive man, detective.
That's one of the best ways to describe him, I think.
Yes, Columbo. I think so. It's how he does it. Do you think Columbo really knows at this time? Because here's the thing.
I think when he walked in the previous couple of scenes to visit Nadja at her place to ask her questions, once he asked to borrow the lighter, I don't think he knew. But I think in that moment he knew it was him. He didn't know how. But when he looked at the lighter and he said, "Oh, you know, whatever the message was and all that," he's like, "Your wife?" Because he's fishing, right? He wants to know if he's married because he suspects, hey, you're over here at your patient's house. She murdered somebody. Are you fucking her? Because that's what it is when you're adult. Okay, if you're not fucking somebody, why aren't you? And if you are, you know, you got a wife, sir? Is that from your wife, sir? No, they're from my sister, actually. Oh, I can see why you appreciate that, sir. You know, he's fishing. He's seeing what information he's going to give him. And that's the beautiful thing about Columbo. Simply, he's a great listener when it comes to that. You know, so I think the seed had been planted at that point. And not maybe the first meeting, like you said, but I think at this point, I think he thinks him. Yes, I do.
Well, the way that he talks to the doctor, here's the thing. Her story isn't lining up at all. I don't know. Maybe she hired somebody to kill the guy. I don't know if this. Offering, like, this information about somebody that he believes might be his accomplice. Or he's hers. So it doesn't matter which way the direction is. Pardon me. But he goes on about that for a moment, and they leave it there, with Collier suggesting maybe if you're so concerned on whether or not you believe this story, why don't you have her take a lie detector test? And he's like, well, that's not going to be useful in court. Well, no, it's not for court. It's for you to help settle your mind. And he's like, you know what? I might do that. Can't force her to. You won't have to. I'll convince her. And here's where the trouble begins. The trouble.
Yeah, I think by now he already knows. And that's what he does is he appeals to the ego of the killer. And that's what he's doing here. He's not accusing the doctor. I was like, yeah, you know, the plan's just got some things in there. And he's not saying this, but he's basically communicating. So I'm relying on your intelligence to kind of help me out here so we can get this straight because, of course, she's innocent and so are you by default, you know? So that's the beauty of it. You can't say no to it almost. You can, of course, but still. But you're right. This is where it starts slipping. We're more than halfway through this episode too, so it's been at a pretty good pace, I think.
Yeah, no, it's 76 minutes. Just a little over an hour in that way. A short episode, and this is where we go ahead. He goes back to Naja and says that you have to take this lie detector test. And I can't do that. He'll know. No. We'll put you under hypnosis. I will convince you that it's real, and then you'll pass it. So that's what he does. He connects her, puts her into a hypnotic state, and convinces her that there will be a ring on the phone. You will pick it up. You will hear a name, and when you do that, you will go outside and dive. You will dive, and Daddy's watching. After that, he has a house party going on. The doctor that we've seen before, and then a couple of colleagues, and Columbo, of course. I know this is a bad time. He comes in, and it's interesting. I wish you got a picture of him surrounded by all these people talking to him about the current case he's working on, because they want a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I really like it.
Well, so much so, here's the thing. I think at this point, I told myself, okay, he's playing like it's not even a bother to him. He's cold. He's calculated. I'm fine with that. You know, shark's eyes, right? Dead, soulless eyes. No evil behind him. Just, you know, that kind of evil. All right, I'm cool with that. I'm fine. And so I'm like, okay, I'm buying it. I'm glad that he asked her to kill himself because I'm annoyed by her. I'm being honest. I wanted to feel sorry for her and think this guy's an evil bastard for doing it. And it's hard, I think, for her to act in that way that we can buy it. But again, zero sympathy is given here. I do like how he basically, psychologically, they call it driving, where you prime somebody by putting things around them and they just think about stuff and they don't know why they think about it's priming. And then there's a driving. And he's psychic driving her to jump off and kill herself based off of the exchange they had at the very beginning. Again, the whole sexual thing, feeling like you're in power, wanting to please daddy and all that. Obviously, daddy issues, right? So he taps into that old thing. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. This went up. I wasn't expecting that. We've only had, I think, a double kill once before with Leonard Nimoy, and that was fucking fantastic. But here, this is not Leonard Nimoy, smart intelligence, evil vibes. It's just not the same. And I try not to compare them. And that's where I think George does a good job of acting a little differently. But the similarities are striking. But for me, when Columbo shows up to ask some questions, and I wanted to call this episode, honestly, Columbo and cream soda, or cream soda and Columbo, because he's like, Columbo, come on in, can I get you a drink or like that? He's like, no, blah, 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 blah. He's like, well, do you have cream soda? And so, of course, that's the pretext while him and his other lover, are sitting there at the mini bar while his friends are gathering. And you know what? I thought this was by far the best scene in the entire episode. Because Columbo's sitting down with these people is a little unexpected. They seem like normal people. The way it's filmed and it's shot, it's good. Because they're asking about the case. They're kind of like rich people on board. They want to know what the common folks' life is like or whatever in a way. But there's almost like a lack of arrogance. It's like they generally want to know. So I thought this is a great thing because you're now hunting your prey on their home turf in front of his people, right? This is so ballsy of Columbo. So they're like asking something. He says, well, we go on facts. For example, we knew this, and so we know that. So what's the third thing? And while he's doing it, he then like looks at him, and I'm like, fuck yeah, he definitely knows at this point here too.
Oh yeah, at this point he knows.
Oh, this is tremendous. And we got a mini, we got a half turtleneck thing that he's going on with the leather jacket because in home you always wear a leather jacket in your house just because it's the swinging 70s, and that's what you do when you're a fashionista with a square-faced watch with leather band matching his outfit, which is what you do. You don't have a metal watch band on a leather jacket or leather and metal mismatch with your belt buckle. No. George Hamilton is too right for that. But I like when he's looking up and he says, hey, we know that the Flint was dropped last night. Nobody's been in place since Thanksgiving because they shut down. They've had it professionally cleaned. And so everyone's like, oh, yeah. And they're like marking out for themselves like, oh, I could have been a detective too or whatever like that. And it's funny because he's basically saying to the doctor, fuck you, you're not as smart as you need to be. Your friends here think they're as smart as you. You're basically dumb like them or whatever. And that's not how Columbo is. But this is just like I say, I definitely think, and that's Cary Grant, by the way, where he does the British accent to him. And even Columbo, I don't think, knows it because his friends are just like, oh, you're real Britishy tonight or whatever. I was very entertained by this scene. I thought it was absolutely tremendous. Best scene of the episode to me.
Oh yeah, oh yes, dear detective. Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
Um,
But to make things even better, it's when he calls her up and he says the code word. I forget what it is. And she goes out and she kills herself. And this is a bit disturbing. I like this a lot. It's done very well. The way it's shot. And the building is angular in such a way that when you shoot it, the asymmetry of it is a bit disturbing and hers being out of focus. And I give her credit as an actress. It's not easy to come across as being under the influence. So this is a very tough role, I think, for anybody to play. I'm knocking on the character, not the actress or her attempts to portray her. But she strips down and she does it. She does the old swan dive, buddy, right into the pool. I was like, all right, we're going places with this now.
Yep. Columbo arrives on the scene. It's late at night. And he starts asking the questions of the policeman there. Oh, well, it was locked on the inside. There was nobody else. She jumped. There's no doubt about that. They also found the phone off the hook. Interesting.
Because when it's off the hook, it's an open circuit. Therefore, you get a different ring sound when you're trying to call it. That's how it used to be. It's not that we have cell phones right now, but that's how it used to be with those lines.
Yep. And with that, the clothes, he notices how they're folded. And he looks in the shoe, and her jewelry is there. Collier also placed some of the valuables that they stole.
Yeah, quote unquote. Yeah.
And he tries to narrow it down. So the next morning, Columbo is in rough shape. He hasn't been home. He was waiting at the Institute as Collier's doctor friend. I can't remember her name. Um,
Lover number 2.
Anita Borden. That's what it is. And he wants to ask, do you know what these are? And he has a list of 2 of the drugs that were mentioned earlier that were missing from the place. Her system was full of it. I want to ask you, could she be hypnotized to the point that she would commit suicide? No, nobody can go ahead and unwittingly kill themselves like that. No. And he says, but what if she thought she was swimming? And he pulls out the shoe and shows that. And Borden is like, you should really speak to Dr. Collier. I'm asking you about a murder. And he is, you can tell he's mad now. He is pissed off. Rightfully so.
This woke me up a little bit. This kind of emotionally put everything in place because we're basically at the end of the episode. That's how far we've gotten.
Yep.
And she's banging the doctor anyway, even though he's an ass to her and all that. But I mean, she's probably got daddy issues too, right? So anyway, she's like, I can't really say anything. You just need to ask him. She's just kind of like, I don't care, even though she knows the other woman that's getting banged by her, just died. And she knows, but she doesn't really seem to care. So even though this guy's a shithole to her, I think she's probably going, you know what? Well, she's not around. I'll get all his attention. I mean, we're dealing with scumbags here. The 2 women, and the one woman's broke. This woman's a scumbag, and the doctor's a scumbag. So it really is kind of interesting in a way, though, because Columbo, once he started going, yep, we're getting to the end here.
So he gets the information about where he is, goes down to the docks where they're going to be going having lunch at the club or wherever they said, and you see Columbo on the dock. He has this electric shaver that he's using to go ahead and get that 5 o'clock shadow down. And he calls Dr. Collier. Collier sends his publicist away, and they're walking down the dock, him above, Columbo below. And he says, "Oh, you haven't heard? Well, yeah, no. Last night, Mrs. Donna committed suicide, jumped." And he acts shocked, but, oh, well then maybe she did kill him. And the guilt, it's logical. And he goes ahead, goes up there. He's like, no, I don't think you're as smart as you think you are. He calls him out right then and there. But the problem is he doesn't have any evidence. And the Doc Collier says, hey, well, as soon as you have any evidence, you let me know.
He's so fucking smart, bro. Oh, he looks so good here, holding his cigarette, walking off. He's got his little peacoat thing on and the spread collar thing open. Absolutely stunning. And plus one for the lackey that comes up behind him and lets him know about the convenient writing. Witness we've all forgotten about, a blind guy who lives right down the road as an eyewitness, because he's got a funky pink shirt on and red tie, which is a very tough thing to pull off. But with his skin tone and the gray, it works. I'll give him credit for that. That's a very tough look or whatever, because he looks like a bit of a schlub, but he's dressed very well. But yeah, I went, oh yeah, I guess that guy with the dog walking was supposed to be blind, and I was supposed to pay attention then there too.
Oh, I knew he was blind. On both watches, I like the first watch, I realized that he was a blind guy because he wasn't actually looking. The glasses were all dark. He had the dog leading him, and he calls out. I knew that, and I figured he would come into play. I will admit, I did not see the ending how I expected.
We have to talk about it because this is basically it. Yeah, I mean, he's confronted the killer. He knows, whatever like that. He kind of summons the doctor to the scene of the crime, and we go to the Columbo thing here. So I'm going to withhold any commentary here, and I want you to walk me through the time when the doctor walks in here to the end of the episode, which is only just a couple minutes. That's how far we've gotten here, and then we'll talk about this for a bit. Go ahead.
The doctor walks in. He's very pissed off. I had to cancel two appointments for this. I'm guessing you have some proof? And Columbo is slow with the lead-in. Oh, well, this right here This right here is an autopsy. And do you have a warrant? Here's a warrant for your arrest because I have a witness. And then he calls to what's the last name? Oh man,
Morris.
huh? Morris,
Look,
Mr.
Mr.
Morris,
Morris.
would you come out here? And you see this gentleman. He carefully walks out. He has the dimmed glasses and he is looking straight forward, and he walks right by another detective coming down, but he isn't being led down. That's a very important marker. Would you take a seat? He takes a careful seat there. Would you like a match? Goes ahead, strikes it, offers to the detective, and he starts asking Mr. Morris, do you recognize anyone beside myself in this room? Yes, I do. And who would it be? A gentleman that I saw driving out about precisely 5:30. I know. I checked my watch. And this entire time, you have Collier acting like this is a nice show. This is a great show. But that man doesn't see me. He's blind. How do you know that? Well, physically, I can tell.
I'm a doctor. Doctors know everything, bro.
Yeah. He goes ahead and says, look at the careful way that he's walking, the glasses, the far off gaze, and this. And he picks up a magazine. Could you read this page to me? And he starts to read it perfectly. Well, a little slow, but starts reading it out. And Collier, like, wait a minute, what's this? Grabs it, turns the page, read this. Sure enough, Mr. Morris is reading it. And he says, no, that's not possible. Yes, it is. And he calls to the real Mr. Morris because Mr. Morris actually lived with his brother. They did make a mention of that, I will say, to their benefit. And he comes out with the dog leading him. The only way that you could have known that a blind man was there at that time of day is if you witnessed it yourself. Mr. Morris is not my eyewitness. You are. And that's the end of the episode.
I hated it.
It's not great.
Okay, so let me walk you through my thinking, and then let's revisit this because I've gone through this several times already, and you know what? Maybe I'm just not seeing it, and I'll take the L for that if that's the case. So we've had some gotchas, like suitable for framing when he brings out the fingerprint thing and he has the gloves on. And we're like, oh, man, the episode's phenomenal, right? I hated
That's
the contact
fantastic.
lens one. Yeah, it's fantastic, right? So here, okay, yes, to your point and to their credit, they mentioned about having a brother. All right, that's fine. And when he arrives and he's being summoned, he doesn't have to go. Okay, he goes. Yes, the cops are around. Okay, this is the grand finale. We know he's going to get arrested. He's got the warrant. Okay, so they're really saving it up. And I'm asking myself as a viewer, what did I miss? What am I not seeing? And not the usual, oh, well, you could just ignore it. You can just deny it and act like you don't know anything, or maybe say, I thought this or that. Your lawyer would get you off scot-free. And I like what they're trying to do, but it just feels flimsy because he is a medical doctor. He can say that he thinks the guy's blind. And when he says, well, you wouldn't know that unless you were already there, that's not true at all. He sits there and tells them, I can tell by the way he does whatever. And you know what? You can be wrong. He says, you and I both know I was miles away, blah, blah, blah. You can tell by looking at him that he's blind. And he goes, well, you wouldn't know that, sir. But he had already said that. It doesn't make sense. It's not, because he doesn't admit to seeing anybody when he left. He doesn't. When I'm talking George Hamilton here, it doesn't. And I get that this guy was trying to act blind because I thought, man, this guy's a shitty actor. What piece of crap did they, roll in to do that? Because I had forgotten about the brother. But when he says, you ask him, are you positive that you saw this? And the guy says, yeah, he was driving, what was it, Mercedes or something like that, whatever the color is and all that too. And he's like, it's a gallant effort. I can tell he's blind. He never admits it. That man couldn't see me or my car. He didn't see anything. He is blind. That doesn't mean you've perpetrated yourself into it, because that's true. He couldn't have seen me because he's blind. That doesn't mean you were there. He couldn't because can indicates ability. This is just not, in my opinion, the way I take the English language written well out or something. Because when he calls the other guy out and says he's blind and all that, and you're the eyewitness, I went, you had to be fucking kidding me. I'm not. This is not working for me, bro. Tell me why I'm wrong, please. I'm really missing something. I feel.
No, I don't think this would hold up in court very well. I do see it as he does go ahead and assume that he's blind. He's using the his walk and the way he's
That's not
steering
incriminating.
forward.
Columbo is saying you wouldn't know anybody might have been blind unless you saw them and could have made that judgment. Therefore, you're saying this guy's blind is what's incriminating to you. Bullshit. He says, I'm a medical doctor. I can tell he's blind. Da, da, da. Even the statement I read, which is supposedly the gotcha, doesn't seem to fit at all. I just, this is like, that's it? End of the show?
It's weak. It's a weak. It is weak. I will admit I didn't realize they switched out Mr. Morris. Because he was at the beginning of the episode and I hadn't seen him the entire episode later. So older white gentleman with dim glasses. I was like, wow, really? They're putting him through this? Because I assumed the same thing that the doctor was. But then he goes ahead and calls in the real Mr. Morris. And Mr. Morris does have a car that pulled out of the driveway at 5:30, which is not the time that was reported before. That is something that witness can swear to, because that was something that happened at 5:30. I mean, that is one thing.
Okay,
he's
I
a
saw
witness
you there.
to
I
Mr.
think I saw
Morris's.
you there. I might know you there. That's not self-incriminating, which is what the whole thing about the warrant is. That you are the eyewitness. You can't self-incriminate. I'm a big Monet guy. Love me some Claude Monet. Love me some haystacks. Love me some water lilies. I've seen him in many different museums around the entire world, as I like to consider myself a small global traveler on the grand stage of life, right? You and I here in Central Florida are privy to some special performances of acting, theater, all that stuff there too. And I remember a year or two ago going down to a traveling Monet exhibit where they were going to digitize his work. They were going to display it all for you. And I'm like, yes, I can finally see a bunch of his works all in one place. And I go down there and I look at it and I go into this big room and it's quiet. Everybody's sitting in the middle. Of course, a lot of people are on their cell phones because that's what people do. I'm sitting there. It's a cold winter night right before Christmas time. Look around going, wow, this is incredible. Huge, big ballroom. I go from one side to the other. I'm like, wow, I could see all these kind of details. And of course, he was known for a certain type of style that relied on whatever lighting you were used to kind of convey the sense to your brain of just how wonderful that technique was back in the day. And then I go to walk through the other door and I'm like, man, I can't wait to see the next one. Maybe it's the water lilies. Maybe it's the Garda Da Vinci or whatever the hell the name is. And you know what the person says to me at the door? That's the exit, sir. Are you sure you wish to leave? You cannot come back. And I'm looking at, Mrs. Xtreme. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize they're only showing one picture in this whole thing and they just made a 3D fucking model of it. And it wasn't a money issue. I had a hookup. It was that's it? Really? Get the fuck out of here posing for modern art. Just go fuck yourself, right? So anyway, I'm very aware about it because I did go home and read the fine print to see what I was getting myself into. And again, it's kind of said one way or another. Much like my recent bitch, if everyone's listening to this, about the Madison episodes 1 through 6 we've just reviewed here on the Xtreme Movie Show with RDV from the Great Midwest. My thing is when I saw Michelle Pfeiffer and Kurt Russell, I thought, wow, here we have a show about older people in the twilight of their life, that looks like they're suffering some tragedy because of the way she's acting, and they're going to get through it together. I thought, in America we currently have today, we don't have a lot of wholesomeness. We don't have a lot of, I love you, let's work on something together, let's get through life together. And you can call that cheesy, whatever you want to, but you also don't have a lot of old people, especially women, in a lot of roles. And I love those two actors, especially Kurt Russell, as a mark that I am. I know you recently met John Carpenter at MegaCon. Kudos to you, sir, and the whole Halloween team there, Nick Castle included. But for me, it was a bait and switch because within the first 20 minutes, Kurt Russell, who has a younger brother, who's the doctor from Lost, right? They're out fly fishing. They're in a plane, and it's completely fucking 100% stupid. They fucking die. So the whole episode is quote unquote what everything is hot today about somebody's grief, and it takes a team of all these women and some cuck man to kind of like realize that they needed the death of this one to kind of maybe tie them together. And while where they're going is kind of interesting, the setup is a bait switch because I'm paying to see Kurt Russell, and people go, "Oh, you don't get it, bro." It's like, Kurt can kind of like be there, like in flashbacks, and she finds his diary, and I'm like, fuck you, Kurt. The husband is dead. They're not going through it together. It's whatever she places upon him that she thinks about what it is. It's not them together going through it. And I'm not a knock on Kurt Russell and his performance. Her performance. Her performance is outstanding. But the way it's presented is bullshit. Why am I ranting about it? Because that's this fucking goddamn episode in a nutshell. So much goddamn gold mine potential in here and wasted. And I've watched it 3 times, bro, in 2 weeks. And I love Columbo. I'm not mad. I'm asking you. It's not you, Pixel. It's me. But you probably don't recognize that, do you? Am I wrong?
No. This ending is bullshit. Sadly, I love it. I still love this show. I still love everything, but this is not going to. This isn't the gotcha they think it is.
It's not to me.
Not to me either.
Yeah, maybe if we had other people kind of explain it to us or whatever, because people that watch the show, it's so we don't talk to anybody. We watch them, and this is a first watch for you and I. So our audience, I appreciate everybody showing up tonight on both different streams that we're doing, the vertical and the horizontal. That's a shout out to Rod Serling, by the way. No, it's interesting because I think next week what we'll do is we'll go through all of season 4, and we've done this with every season of Columbo that we've done it. We're just going to rank the episodes of this season only in our order from worst to first, kind of talk about them and all that. Then the week after that, we'll have a break with a James Bond movie. So you can, as we're, switch TV shows, you get a chance to go and watch Bond because that's the first watch for you, most of them. And so we're up to the Daniel Craig ones now. And then after that, I think we're going to be getting a Forever Night. So if we're going through the summer into the fall, we'll be doing season 2 of that. So that's pretty good. But let me turn this over for you for any other final thoughts about Columbo in general, this episode and this season, just generally speaking.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit. It's a bit of a disappointing end, especially considering how well it starts. I don't know if you remember. You sent a GIF to me of, "Oh no, my eyes!" And I figured it was because of this episode. Am I correct in that?
I'm trying to think out loud. Would you mind saying that again slower? You're fading in and out a little bit.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's a new setup, so we're getting used to it.
I remember you sending me a GIF.
Oh, right.
And it was like, my eyes have seen things. And I was like, oh, that's it. I'm blinded. My eyes. I see it now. And I was like, wow, could this episode be that bad? It's not that bad. It's just that it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Painfully disappointing.
Yep.
But yeah, no,
that was the Jim Carrey where he fakes being blinded in Cable Guy at medieval times. I blinded my eyes. Are you okay? I am now. Whammy. That's what it felt like to me at the end here, because I'm like, hey, stop. That was Daisy, my German Shepherd, Czechoslovakian Shorthaired Red, non-working line, keeping track here on the 5-acre palatial state here of the Xtreme Movie Show in Pine Hills here, because Pine Hills is not the Pine Hills that I fondly remember. It's a war zone, and this is what I do to spend my time so I don't get shot. That's why we do this here. I'm sorry, please continue.
No, that's pretty much it. I just remember that GIF, and I was like, could this episode be that bad? I don't think it's that bad. It's just disappointing. I'm not mad, just disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not mad either. There's really good performances in here. I really like some of the outdoor scenery. We get that. The indoor stuff's not nearly as attractive to me unless it's a really specific set piece. But the shot of him walking with the doctor and he's below him and they're in the boatyard, the marina there, and you can see a lot of stuff in the background. The Blu-ray copy's phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen. You get your hands on that. it does not disappoint. It's so crisp. It's crisper than Peacock to me, even on the 55-inch TV. So I'm not sure. There's definitely not a drop off there, but I think the audio might be a little bit better too. I think it's probably still in mono, but it just, I don't know. The print I'm having is just excellent. I'm really digging watching these older episodes because you can see the fabric, you can see the knit, the ties, everything, the ladies' dresses. It's really awesome. Sometimes older TV you think is kind of ugly or whatever exists or hasn't been remastered or caught or they've lost the originals. You lose it, but not Columbo. It's really fun to watch a lot. It's the only show we've decided to go this far in other than Twin Peaks. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that, I was watching on Tubi, and unfortunately, there were some sound quality issues a couple times in this episode. I noticed that too, but I wasn't going to count that against it.
Poor dubbing. That's what that was. Definitely some overdubs.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Columbo Season 4, Episode 6, A Deadly State of Mind, a.k.a. Columbo's Cream Soda, because that would have been a much better episode to watch or whatever like that. Join us next week live here 9 o'clock Eastern Wednesday night, where the young 20-something Professor Pixel and myself rank from worst to first all of the episodes here in Season 4. I'm looking forward to going over that, and until then, good night.
Good night. Hey, one more thing. No, never mind.